Welcome back, guys. I'm Gary with Automatic Door and Hardware. We manufacture commercial doors, automatic doors, and the parts and hardware that go with those doors. If you like learning about doors and hardware, then you've come to the right place. Each day we make 2 or 3 videos related to this. So if this interests you, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Okay guys, now to our topic for the day, and that is how to stop a handicap door opener from coming close and hitting someone, a pedestrian, a person, anyone. You may have come across this just walking into any kind of automated entry swing door with a handicap low energy door opener on it, and you may have seen, a person in a wheelchair trying to pass through the doorway, and the door's open, and when he gets about halfway through, the door's already beginning to close on him, and it sandwiches his wheelchair between the door and the frame. Or maybe you've seen an elderly person with a cane or a walker, same type of situation. They're passing through the threshold of the door comes back, swings closed onto their either their body or their walker, and maybe even knocks them over. Or maybe you've come across a situation where there's a mother and a child, and the kid is kind of lagging behind, and the mom's holding his or her hand and is kind of dragging them through the door, and they run out of time and the door begins to close on the child. These are different situations that are actually very popular and occur more than you would think. And so this is a really good subject to cover because there is a simple solution to stop this from happening, and we'll dive into that now. Okay guys, so the solution is actually really quite simple, and that is our ADA Warhawk safety sensor. So what this is it's actually a safety device which uses active infrared technology in order to detect a pedestrian who's standing in the doorway. How we do that is through a mix of triangulation and background suppression, but essentially it measures the distance from the pedestrian to the sensor itself and then signals to the door opener's control box to keep the door open, hold it open because someone is in the threshold or doorway. So this is really huge because it will prevent, people, when adjusted properly, people or pedestrians from getting smashed by the door because they are still in the doorway. This should actually be used on every kind of low energy automated door entryway because it is a huge safety device, a huge safety advantage for building owners and contractors or anybody who's in the door industry and is looking out for the pedestrians in terms of safety. So our Warhawk ADA safety sensor is actually something that can be used on any type of low energy commercial door opener. It doesn't matter the brand or model, it can be integrated with it. And it is really something a commercial building owner should consider because safety is always the most important thing, especially when it comes to pedestrians. Nobody wants somebody coming to their retail store or their commercial property and getting injured in the process. So to understand more about the technology behind our active infrared Warhawk ADA safety sensor, let's kind of explore what does active infrared mean and what is an infrared sensor in general. So what is an infrared sensor? Well, an infrared sensor is a type of electronic device that's used to measure infrared radiation coming off of an object. So back in the 1800s, there's a scientist known as William Herschel, and he actually discovered that between the various colors of light would be a different temperature when a prism was in between them. And what he found was the red light offered the highest temperature. So what he essentially discovered was that any object with a temperature greater than 5 degrees Kelvin would emit some form of infrared radiation. And for those that are familiar with infrared, infrared is invisible to the human eye. And that is because the wavelength of infrared is greater than the wavelength of visible light. So there are actually 2 types of infrared sensor designs, and that is an active infrared sensor, which is what the Warhawk ADA safety sensor is, and a passive infrared sensor. So what an active infrared sensor is it consists of 2 components. It's a light emitting diode, an LED, the emitter we like to call it, and a receiver component. And how it works is it will actually emit light, and that will shine down essentially onto the object and reflect off the object, where the signal is then received by the receiver. And by doing this, we're actually able to measure the distance between the object and the sensor. And this is sometimes referred to as a proximity sensor, but essentially what you should know is active infrared sensors are able to measure infrared radiation by emitting it and also detecting it. So the passive infrared sensor differs from that of the active because it can only detect infrared radiation. It does not actually have an LED where it emits infrared radiation. And a passive infrared sensor is really used more in the home security type of sensors, where it's more of a motion-based detection. So the Warhawk ADA safety sensor is an active infrared sensor. You could see it in the picture above me, mounted at the top of the door. It's a slim design sensor that mounts to the very top of the door, and it can actually detect up to 8 feet down. And the way it's designed is when it mounts to the top of the door, it essentially eliminates any chance of damage to the sensor. You know, pedestrians are always carrying backpacks, bags, anything like that. So by having the sensor up high, you're going to eliminate any chance of the sensor actually getting destroyed or damaged. And there are two adjustability factors to the sensor. Inside the housing is actually a sensor module, and that can be slid left or right horizontally to alter the detection zone. And then also there's a screw adjustment which does adjust the tilt for the detection zone. Really easy to install, really easy to adjust. It's 12 or 24 volts AC DC, so it's compatible with any automatic door opener control box, and it has a detection speed less than 50 milliseconds, so it's extremely fast at detecting and very safe. So how it actually works is, if somebody activates the door opener by pressing the push to open button, the door will open, and at that point the active infrared sensor will be measuring for any type of object within the doorway or pedestrian. So when a pedestrian is in the doorway, the active infrared Warhawk safety sensor will detect that and tell the control box to keep the door open. So it will eliminate any type of situation where the door's closing on a pedestrian, because with a properly adjusted active infrared sensor, you know, the door will not be able to close because the infrared sensor will be sending the signal telling the door opener to stay open. Okay guys, so that's how our Warhawk ADA safety sensor works. I'll put a link down below. I hope you guys found this video useful. If you're interested in purchasing the Warhawk ADA safety sensor, we always recommend it for any type of automatic swing door opener. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like or comment below and subscribe to our channel. Thanks guys.